Hello, and thank you for joining our third episode. We are live with Aisha Earl, my coworker, good friend, one of my best friends, and now the owner of Beyond Credit Solutions.
Yes.
So she is here with us today. We are going to talk about pretty much the core foundation of adulting, which is credit services.
Yes.
And of course, stay tuned because you are going to have a chance to win a $50 Up Inspired Kitchen gift card.
Right.
First, we are going to get to know Aisha a little bit better. So Aisha, how are you?
I am wonderful. So excited to be here and talk to people about their physical responsibilities and financial wellness. So
Awesome.
things that make me excited.
We are excited to have you. I'm going to give our audience a chance to get to know you a little better. And with that, we're going to do our 30-second showdown.
Woohoo!
So you're going to have 10 questions to answer in 30 seconds. Are you ready?
Yes.
Awesome. Let's do it. So where were you born?
I was born in Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, wow.
Military hospital.
Nice. And how many siblings do you have?
I have 4.
What is your favorite TV show?
Ooh, living single.
Yeah, so good.
So
And your favorite vacation spot?
probably Cabo.
Okay. And favorite quote?
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Love it. And what's your favorite thing about Dallas?
Ooh, the food and the people.
Yes. I
For sure.
I can eat here for days.
Yes.
And would you rather be all natural or glam for the gods?
Definitely glam.
I know
I
it.
feel good glam,
And
but
I
do I
love
have the
Adrian.
energy to be glam?
Right.
Probably not.
And would you rather have Martin Gaye or The Temptations on repeat?
Definitely Temptations.
Me too. If you could have
David
dinner with
Ruffin?
anyone,
What? What? Definitely Temptations.
if you could have dinner with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, probably Oprah. Really cliche, but probably Oprah.
Oprah or Maya Angelou?
Ooh,
I go back and forth. I know it.
Ooh.
And who's your biggest role model?
probably Oprah.
I know
She
it.
had a struggle, man.
Auntie Oprah.
And she's so sweet and so non-traditional. You know, has a
kind of thinks
spouse,
outside of the box.
love of her life, no kids, but kids at the same time.
Right.
Like, how do you even do that?
She's
She
just
does it.
amazing.
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, now that we know a little bit about you, let's talk a little bit more about Beyond Credit Solutions and how it came to be. How and why did you get started in credit repair services?
It's kind of a long story, but I will try to keep it short. I got into credit repair because I repaired my own credit. The year was 2006, 2007, and my credit was horrible, not because I was extremely irresponsible, but just because I didn't really understand credit. I didn't have a reason to know what my credit score was. I had never financed a car, purchased a home, or ran a business, anything like that. But
So common.
very common. And it wasn't taught to me, no shade, but I just, it's something that I didn't know. So I found out I was pregnant. I was going to have my daughter, and I had a little bucket of a car. So I said, okay, I need to finance a car. I went to the dealership, and they basically said, we won't finance you tissue paper because of these reasons. And I said, okay.
You're like, what do you mean?
Exactly. So me being the person that I am, I went and I did some research, and it turns out that it's really not difficult to repair your credit. It's knowledge just like anything else. And once I kind of learned the tools, I'm like, I need to share this with everyone because I think everybody deserves to know,
Yeah, definitely. And we appreciate you coming on the show to share it.
Thank you.
And what services do you offer with Beyond Credit Solutions?
Okay, so we offer a free consultation. So a consultation will entail you ordering your credit report, you bringing it to me, us sitting together, talking on the phone and discussing things that we can remove and kind of your story, how you got to where you got, things that you recognize, things that you don't recognize, and then we put together a plan. We have 3 different tiers of programs that we offer. It's silver, gold, and platinum. Silver is a program that will allow me to help you delete items off of your credit report as it stands. So basic, I write letters for you, we go over everything, discuss your financial plan. Silver is more so for people who have a bankruptcy, as the gold is not for them. The gold, you would think it's, a tier up, but it's actually our basic. Okay. Silver is if you have a bankruptcy, we're going to go through how you got into that situation, what you did write off, what you didn't write off, and also put together a plan for you. And it's kind of a rolling program. So, you may have things that come up. I'll still dispute those items. And then the goal, we partner you with people. If you're renting, they will actually report your rent history to the credit bureaus. Right now, that's not something that is reported, but with the program that I work with, they will report that for you, which will in turn increase your credit score. So,
Awesome.
three
So what you're
programs.
basically saying is people who are renting, they don't necessarily own, they can still take certain steps in order to increase their credit.
Exactly.
Amazing.
How many people do you know that pay their rent on time all the time if nothing else is paid?
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
You have to get
introducing them.
no credit for it.
Exactly. So introducing them to programs like that is something that, has made a world of difference for several people. So
Awesome.
it's been great.
Perfect. Well, I also, of course, want to talk about some different things that people have brought to me as questions to ask.
Goodness.
The most common question I received was, what is a good credit score? What is good credit?
Okay. You guys may be surprised by my answer, but good credit to me is a well-balanced credit profile. If you want to talk about, what's the best credit score to get the best interest rate, it's going to be between 750 and 850. However, I've seen people get wonderful interest rates because they have a very balanced profile. What is that? Low debt to income ratio, low use of credit cards, low inquiries on their profile, been at their job for a very long time. It's all those things that make a well-balanced credit score. So I think that is really the answer, just well-balanced.
So really a combination of various factors. It's not necessarily one over the other. Or
Exactly.
Perfect number.
I've seen
in any
somebody with
situation.
sorry to interrupt,
No, you're
but I
fine.
have seen someone with an 825 who got the same interest rate as somebody who had a 750, 780, and it's because their profile was more robust and they had a longer history. They just had, some things in their profile that were a little bit better, but maybe they had one thing that was high, so their score was a little lower, but overall their profile was a little better. So
Got it.
well balanced.
So with that being said, what is the ideal debt to credit ratio or debt to income ratio when it comes to your credit?
Okay, so we have debt to income, which is how much debt you've accrued versus how much income you have coming in every month. And to qualify for a mortgage, it needs to be less than 36%.
Hear that, first time home buyers, less than 35%.
Yes. And even though that is kind of the threshold, you have to realize that these banks are hiring actuaries, people who do this for a living, and they're saying, okay, this is the maximum that where you can be for us to qualify you. I would try to be less than that.
Right.
So I tell all of my customers between 30 and maybe 33, because that's going to keep you safe. Again, if the actuary is telling you that this is the max you can do, you may want to go below that.
You never want to be on the line. Basically.
Exactly.
Got it. And
Sorry.
somebody else did reach out and they want to know, what's the best way to repair your credit when you have limited income?
That is an excellent question. I had limited income when I was fixing my credit, and it's literally doing the work and calling these people and saying, hey, I have limited income, so can you help me? This can go anywhere if you think about it. So if you have a whole bunch of credit card debt, what I did is I lined my credit cards up. I called who had the highest interest rate and I asked them to reduce it. Even if they reduce it by 1%, it's better than what you had before.
So you can negotiate down an interest rate after you open a line of credit.
Yes, you can. And I would say going into credit repair, you always have to remember that something is better than nothing. At the end of the day, these credit bureaus, these financial institutions understand that we're not going to get anything from this person if they choose. If their credit's already shot,
Right.
they can just not pay it and it'll keep being shot, you know? And after a certain amount of time, it'll roll off and that'll be it. But yes, you can negotiate. Sorry. But if you have a limited income, you do what you can. That's all that you can do. If you can pay $5 a month towards your debt, that's better than paying zero because at least you have a plan,
True.
you know?
And are balance transfers a good idea? I know a lot of people think if I can't necessarily negotiate down my interest rate, I'll just open a new line of credit with a lower interest rate and transfer my balance to that card.
Okay. I completely understand the thought process behind that. Such and such is having a 0%, APR for a
Right.
year and a half. Let me just transfer. For one, that costs money. So you have to really weigh the pros and cons with that.
Okay.
That is not usually my first recommendation, but it is on the table for people that I consult with. I if it were me, I would try my best not to do that again because it's costing you money. And if you're
Right.
trying to save your coins,
That's not the best way to go about it.
the best way to go about it would be maybe you can get a 90-day promotion where they'll put zero on your existing cards. That way you don't have to pay that 3 or 5% transfer fee and you can start paying it off that way. The goal is to spend as least as you can to get the most
'Cause a lot of
efficiency.
people, I guess, look at it as a quick fix, but really at the end of the day, you're still almost robbing Peter to pay Paul.
You're paying money to do it. If you didn't have the money 6 months ago, are you going to have it in another 6 months without a real plan? And that's just being honest.
No, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I say, if you have two nickels to rub together, you call someone up and say, how can we make these nickels work? If the first credit card person says no, you call the next one, and that's how you start to see progress.
Awesome. And one other big question we had is, how do you get your score back up after opening a credit card?
Okay. So when you open a credit card, depending on how many inquiries you've had, you may see a temporary hit on your credit. But after about 90 days from what I've seen, it'll usually go up a little bit. And the reason why is because you're decreasing your utilization because you're increasing your total availability of credit.
Right.
So it's very temporary. Unfortunately, there's no quick fix for it other than I would try not to spend more than 30% of that card's maximum limit. That way you can see that increase and it doesn't take any longer.
Perfect. And what advice would you give first-time home buyers when it comes to their credit, being prepared to purchase your home and things of that nature?
As far as preparation for purchasing a home, I would say that it's not something that you should do on a whim. You do have predatory lenders out there that'll tell you you're ready with that 36, 37, like right on the cusp of income to debt ratio.
Right.
I also don't suggest that you have, all this money stashed necessarily. I would say it's a mindset. You have to make sure that you are responsible enough to make that mortgage payment because it is a little bit different
That's true.
than rent, for sure. Make sure you understand the taxes in your area, how they can increase and how you can influence that increase or decrease, excuse me. And then lastly, decide how you want to purchase your home. Are you comfortable putting 3% down, 5% down, 20% down? Just discuss with your partner, or if you're doing it by yourself, make sure that you know what you're comfortable with and do not let anyone tell you what your finances are. It's
Right.
best that you go in prepared knowing because they will offer you the moon and the stars. If they're a predatory lender, if you have somebody that's genuinely wanting you to purchase a home, they may decline you, which would be painful, of course, but sometimes that's the case. So make sure you go in prepared and knowing your finances, and not having somebody tell you what you can afford.
Very true. And what other advice would you give our millennial generation? There's so many of us that are trying to trying to make sure that we do pay our rent, pay our credit cards, do all of these things on time. What advice would you give us in making sure that we're doing it the right way, per se?
I would say the best way to know that you're doing it the right way is educating yourself. There's a certain amount of responsibility that you have for yourself to know what your finances are and know how the world works around you. If you're not a person that's good with numbers, which I was not for a very long time, you just start reading about it. Honestly, you if you have goals, to purchase a home, if you have goals to, have rental properties, if you just have goals to have more money in the bank, you have to look at what you're making now. If it's not what you want it to be, you have to figure out a way to increase it. And once you get to that space, then you have to figure out how to utilize it to increase it even more. And that's just kind of the name of the game, is to educate yourself and to be efficient. Efficiency is important when it comes to finances.
Very true.
Make your money work for you, for sure.
Awesome. And what is a good way to repair your credit after divorce, bankruptcy, repossession, things that typically hit your finances hard, then on top of that hit your credit hard?
Okay. So I've actually assisted quite a few people who have had bankruptcy, and it's tough. It is tough. Typically, it'll stay on your credit for 7 to 10 years, but what most people don't tell you is that most credit items stay for 7 to 10 years. So
Right.
don't let that scare you. When it comes to credit repair, these credit bureaus have a responsibility to fall within guidelines that are legal. And oftentimes, even with bankruptcy court, the information can be incorrect that's being reported. So you want to make sure that, one, everything that you discuss in your hearing is clear and correct on your credit report. Two, how can I say this in the nicest way? Make sure that if it was bankruptcy due to negligence on your part, just financial negligence, that you don't do the same things to put you back in that scenario. And lastly, I wouldn't recommend, let me back up a little bit. When I'm dealing with bankruptcy a lot, I ask my customers to get secured cards. And what a secured credit card is, it's basically you put your credit limit up from your own pocket. So if it's a $500 credit limit, you go to the bank, you say, here's my $500, and you're charging against those $500. I would go into a bank where someone can see me face to face, because you'd be surprised at the leniency that they could have once they see a person versus applying online.
Okay.
And then the last thing with bankruptcy is just getting your mind wrapped around that it's not the biggest thing in the world. I mean, you have Fortune 500 companies that go through bankruptcy, and it's just a shift in how you're going to pay things out. Honestly, that's what it is.
And I think there's just so much fear, because the person who reached out was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm about to have to file for bankruptcy. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. Is it easy to get my credit up? And there was so much fear and worry, because all of our lives, from playing Monopoly to watching, DuckTales,
Yes.
bankruptcy was always
They'll
like
make
such a
you
horrible
think,
thing.
like,
So everybody
no.
thinks it's like the worst thing in the world. It's not talked about. It's embarrassing, things of that nature. But I think it's so important to educate ourselves on what exactly your options are in certain financial situations. So that way, again, you don't put yourself in the same place twice.
Well, I will say that if this person is pre-bankruptcy, I will consult, of course, a bankruptcy lawyer, read about it, and also talk to someone who's in credit repair. And it's because, again, the name of the game is not necessarily eliminating all debt. It is making sure that everybody is within the guidelines of the law, including credit card companies, the bureaus that report this information. So all hope is not gone. And if you do go through the process, I literally know someone who filed bankruptcy in 2016, and they just purchased a house, like 3% down.
Traditional guidelines.
Yes,
Nothing
yes.
out of control.
So it's all about setting a path. Okay, you've decided you're going to file for bankruptcy. What are my next steps? Those next steps are calling everyone that you were indebted to, making sure that they're reporting everything correctly, that you're at a zero balance. Anything that's left that for some reason you couldn't process through that, you're going to call those people and try to pay off that debt. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And again, anything that you apply for, do it in person. in person, excuse me, but I would wait 2 years before I tried to apply for a home or a car or something like that.
And for
Not
those of
7.
and for those of you out there who don't know where to start, keep in mind, although you might not be in the Dallas area, Aisha services are offered nationwide. I really should say worldwide. You can go to www.beyondcreditsolutions.com and you will see all of the services on the website. Just really quick, also before I forget, I am going to do a quick giveaway. Please make sure that you share this video and that you like the Beyond Credit Services social media pages as well as our social media pages for your chance to win.
Yes.
So again, the website is up now. You'll see there's several different packages, the policies, frequently asked questions, things of that nature. So reach out if you have any questions.
Yes, you can find Beyond Credit Solutions on Facebook, on Instagram, and on our website and Yelp. So look at the reviews, and hopefully I'll speak to you all soon. Again, a consultation is absolutely free, and I will give you the real.
She will. And she'll give you the Hanging with the Heakes special, which means that she will always answer the phone and take care of you. I definitely know that. She is a wonderful person, great business owner, and definitely one of my role models. She's awesome.
You're so sweet.
Love her. Alrighty. So what are 3 things before we wrap up that you would say was a surprise to you, or it was a surprise to find out as you were learning about credit? Like, I know one thing you told me was, I think medical can only stay on your credit report for 3 years. Is that correct?
It's 2 years, and honestly, the way the law is set up, it could be less than that. With medical, the bureaus have a whole nother level of guidelines that they have to meet to even put it on your credit report. And I would say 80% of the time they have not met those guidelines. And it just may be that the people that are putting it on the report just don't know. But that's probably the easiest thing to get off, I'd say, is medical bills. That's the easiest thing that I found to make payment plans on, to dispute, all of those things. Also, another one is just, when I went into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my credit is so horrible. Like I need to be able to get a car. Eventually I want to get a house. Like, how am I going to do this? I was very surprised by everyone's willingness to work with people. At the end of the day, we're all humans, we're all humans. Some of the credit card debt that I had was when I was 18 and it was still legal to have Capital One, just like hanging out when you're registering for school. You know what I mean?
Everybody makes that one mistake. Like you said, when you're registering for school or they get student loans, they go buy a TV with it, a purse,
I didn't
whatever.
know any better. And so when I was calling these people thinking that they would be so judgmental, they're like, actually, we have several options on how we can help you pay this debt or how we can reduce your debt. So that's the second one. First one, medical bills. You can almost always get them off or negotiate on how to get them paid and get them off of your credit report. The second one is people's willingness to work with you. And I would say the third one is that it's like not a life sentence. I was thinking it was going to take like 7-8 years for my credit to increase, but it took me 1.5 years and I was just diligent. You have several different gurus out there who will tell you how to repair your credit or how to get out of debt, but at the end of the day, only you know what you can really do. I'll give you an example. There's a really popular debt-free person who will tell you to arrange your debt most to least, start with the least so that you can build momentum until you pay off the biggest balance. For me,
absolutely not.
For me, I'm like, who has the biggest interest rate? Let me call them so they can reduce it. And let me, it's all about figuring out what works best for you. And I would say, lastly, I realize that there are a lot of people in the credit industry that are not knowledgeable. Like they don't know what they're talking about. They just, they're preying on people and, seeing that they're in a dire situation and not really getting them results. So I would say if you hire someone that's going to fix your credit and you choose not to do it yourself, like me, make sure that that person knows what they're doing. Make sure they have a referral for you. Make sure that they can tell you someone that they've helped, and refer you to them. So that's about it.
Awesome.
Yes,
Well, I
that's
am so
right.
excited that you came out with us. Everybody, I am not knocking Dave Ramsey or Susie
didn't even say
Orman,
his
but
name.
I just want to make sure that you guys have a reliable, trusted source. A lot of those programs will tell you save an X amount of your income, but if you literally are stuck in a position where you don't make enough to save, it's hard. So
It's
having
hard.
services like Beyond Credit Solutions definitely makes a difference. It can teach you what you can and can't do to put yourself in a better place to be financially free. So
Yes.
check her out. Give Aisha a call if you need anything. Let us know.
Please do.
And thank you for joining us for our third episode.
Thank you.
We will see you.